Welcome back to Elevated Dialogue. This series is built around the conversation every father should have had with his son. Every man deserves to hear. Tonight, we're talking about something every man experiences, but very few men ever prepare. But very few men are ever prepared for it. The reality of being a man. No scripts, no pretending, just honest conversations from different generations and different perspectives. Before we get started, let me introduce tonight's panel. We've got men representing a few different decades of life. Some here on this stage is a man who still somewhere here on this stage is a man who still remembers life before cell phones, and others who probably can't remember life before Wi-Fi. Some of these gentlemen have grandchildren. Some are still figuring out what they are having for dinner tonight. Some have been married for decades, and some are still collecting data. But tonight, every perspective has a seat at the table because no one generation has all the answers. With that being said, gentlemen, my brothers, welcome here tonight. I appreciate you for being here. Um, and what we're going to do first, I'm going to introduce every single body. So one of the first people we have on here right beside me is none other than Mr. Walter B. He's the author of The Man of Be a Man Universe. He's the author, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to know more about him, go back and watch last week. But welcome to the show, brother. Glad you're here. But at the above me, at the top, we got two new members of the Wolf Pack here with us tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We have Son of Timothy and David Brown. What we're going to do before we get started, I'm going to ask them to give us 30 to 45 seconds or so and let us know a little bit more about who they are and just a little something about their background.
Okay, well, I'll go first. Hey, my name's David Brown. I'm a pastor of Transformation Center. I'm also an educator, been in education for, man, maybe going on close to 17 years. And been married, happily married for 31 years, and I have 5 children and almost 5 grandchildren. I just love adding value to others and, being an inspiration to others.
Man, it is a pleasure to be up here. So thank you for having me, brother. My name is Tawami Gaddy. Man, I'm just a brother. As I told you, I'm just a brother. Retired military. You can always catch me podcasting on Friday nights on the Empowering Perspective platform as well. Other than that, trying to learn how to enjoy this new phase of life. Completely retired out the military and just enjoying dialogue with the brothers.
Man, I definitely appreciate that. Definitely again, want to welcome welcome y'all to the show. Anybody who's in the chat, whether you're on Facebook, YouTube, or whatever, LinkedIn, TikTok, whatever you're watching this, thank you for being here. We understand you could be anywhere else, but you chose to be here with us for this hour and a half or so. So feel free to join in the comments, ask questions. You gentlemen, excuse me, feel free to do the same thing. So I guess without further ado, actually before that, I need to ask you gentlemen how you guys are doing. I didn't ask you guys how you're doing. I know for me and Mr. Brown up here, we're educators. So this time we are catching up on our sleep. We catching up on our workouts. We spending more time with our honeys and stuff like that, vacationing and doing stuff like that because our summers are a lot free. I don't know, exactly what you guys do for work or anything like that, but just go around the horn real quick and just kind of let me know, kind of let us know, how you guys are doing right now. Just like, what's going on, man? How y'all doing this week?
Yeah, I can kick it off. I work for FedEx office, so I do a lot of managing of people and moving assets here, there, and everywhere. It's kind of a slow period for me right now, work wise. So, just getting people in and getting out, taking care of business. But personally, very excited. I'm finishing up my sixth book, and that's actually got a lot of my free time other than working out and doing the right thing by being a dad and father and all that good stuff. But working on this sixth book, it's got me ready for the next one. So just trying to make things happen.
Well, man, how's y'all week, man? How y'all doing?
Oh man, I like I said before, I'm trying to enjoy this new phase of life. So as of right now, I had the pleasure, have the pleasure of being unemployed into the fall. I'm going back into school. Want to venture on. Life has given me that opportunity to do so. So I want to venture into something different.
Okay. Word up. What about you, Mr. Brown? How's life been treating you?
Well, man, life has been treating me really good. Like my wife and I celebrated our 31st wedding anniversary, which you were standing right up there with me celebrating,
Proud
and
to be.
just enjoying life. And we went to the beach a couple times. We're going to do some other traveling, just enjoying the summer. And like you said, this is the time that I'm really dialing in on my workouts and stuff like that before we get back to school. But I'm just enjoying it. And then actually getting ready to enjoy being an empty nester, man.
Yeah, bro. That is that is that is the life, bro. That is a great time, you know. And my son is here right now. He's 21 and he's in and out and stuff like that. But even while he's here, I have to put on a little bit more clothes. She have to wear a little bit more clothes. I'm just saying, I'm just keeping it how it is, keeping it a buck around here.
Hey, keep
We
it real.
grown over here, but so I get it, it's definitely fun. But I will say this, the other side of that is, like right now, I'm in his room. This was his room a
Yeah.
couple of years ago before he left to go to the army, but now it's my office. So sometimes I be missing them jokers too, when I come in here and I can like almost smell them or feel them or at least think about them. At least the thought is there because like this was his space for 5 or 6, 7 years or so before he moved out. So
Mhm.
made a lot of memories and stuff up in here, and some of him is still here. I mean the little stuff in here, his stuff still I kind of left here. But ladies and gentlemen, it ain't about me. What we're gonna do is before I introduce this next person, y'all have known him, y'all have seen him. He has written 732 books, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Accountability himself, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Vic Vizion. How you doing, brother? How are you doing this evening? Hold on, you muted, man. I can't hear you. Can't hear you.
See, this is why I got to get
There
here
you go.
early. Check. You know what I'm saying? Hey, look, take accountability out the bat, right? Um, so I'm Victor Vincian. Nice to meet you guys. If I haven't spoken to you already, Walt, what's up? Um, I'm as far as like what's going good in my life. I don't have a whole lot to complain about, man. Life is what it is. I just embraced a long time ago that a man's life ain't meant to be easy, and and even when it looks easy, it's not because you have to reinforce so many boundaries and stuff with yourself internally before you decide to overcommit to anything. Um, but overall, for the people that I've yet to introduce myself to, I'm Victor Vincian, founder of Accountable Masculinity. It's about identifying the disciplined man in you. I'm a veteran, a published author for 3 books, got a couple others in the queue. Um, what else do I do? I'm married. Um, I mentor men, coach men, and I put content out that makes people think.
Man, I appreciate it. And again, man, I appreciate and welcome all y'all here. Anybody in the chat, welcome y'all to be here. Um, I'm happy to be here, man. We're gonna go ahead and get this party started, man. Um, Tonight's topic is the existence of being a man, and no one tells you this. I know when I became a man, at least when I thought I was a man, I thought I knew a lot of stuff, and then when I turned 30, I was like, man, you're a little Rudy Poo behind, you ain't know nothing. And then I turned 40, and I was like, bro, I'm finally a man. And now I'm 50, and I'm just like, bro, I think I might got it nailed down. I think I'm a man now. I think it took me 50 years to get here, but I think, I'm being funny, but it is a journey, and all of our path to get to manhood is different than everybody else's, and every individual's man's path is different anyway. So I was, again, we're talking about the existence of being a man. No one tells you this. I was at the dentist today, and I had a guy. He was the dental hygienist, and coming to find out, where he graduated from is where I work at. So he graduated from there in, like, a long time ago. And he was working on my teeth, and I asked him, "Is this what you wanted to do when you was in high school?" And he said no, he didn't get into it until, 5 or 6 years after he had already graduated. And, he said, "I think that that is a lot of pressure to put on kids at 18 to make that decision for the rest of their life," and that gave me a pause, you know what I mean? It made me think, so I'm hoping, not necessarily that there are going to be answers, or anything responded. It's not that I'm going to looking to get answers to that or anything, but I just thought that that was interesting how we put a lot of pressure, and then how probably a lot of pressure was on us at 18 or when we graduate to go out there and have the answers, which is, we all know now at our age that we didn't have the answers at 18. Well, I didn't. Maybe y'all did. So we're 13 minutes in, man. And with that being said, the first statement that I got up there, and what I want everybody to chew on, including you guys, feel free to go around the horn. If you're in the chat, feel free to answer this, and just kind of let us know. So go ahead and start us off with this. Whoever wants to. I knew I was becoming a man when.
Whew. I knew I was becoming a man when nobody cared about my problems. And it was up to me to get myself out of my own situations. Um, I knew that I couldn't complain about it and solve the problem at the same time.
Yeah, for me, it's something similar. Um, I knew I was coming man when I had to stop asking the question, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what am I supposed to learn from this? Life is life experiences are the biggest teachers of how to get better at doing something that you didn't do before, or something that you got wrong before. When you look at the word fail, it's the first attempt in learning. That's the acronym I use for it.
Mm.
And if you fail at something, you don't need to be asking yourself, why is this happening to me? You're supposed to learn not to do it again. So that's when I knew I was being a man, because I was like, all right, I got to be able to adjust and be better. And the only way to do that is to continue to learn.
Yeah, I knew I was. I think was I knew I was becoming a man when I began to realize in life that it was, no longer about me, and that, how they say, life be life, and some people say life is happening to you, but now I was saying life was happening for me. It was building up strength and character through the adversity that I was going through. That's when I knew that I was becoming a man.
I would say for me, it might kind of sound similar to what Vic was talking about. I knew when wasn't nobody coming to save me. When I realized that, this is no shade or disrespect to my parents or anybody in my family, but my mom and dad didn't have the resources for me to fail. And what I mean by that is, like you said, I get the acronym, but I couldn't, take my family and go stay with my mom, or take my family, and go stay with my dad. They didn't have the resources. They didn't have the space to do those things. You know what I'm saying? So I realized early on, when my parents didn't have those resources, at the time with my first wife, her parents did. If me and her would have got divorced early on, she would have been able to go and stay in the house with her parents. She would have had resources, and and support and different things like that. Whereas for me, I didn't have that. So it was like I had to like grow up and start becoming a man and start trying to figure this thing out. Um, and start figuring out this stuff that no one tells you.
Yeah, man. I say for me, it was more of when I stopped looking at responsibilities as things that were happening to me, and I took pleasure in and just the normal responsibilities of life as a man. It's a pride just to watch your kids wake up in a house that you provided, to make sure everything is on, like they have a okay life. They have a good. They're not concerned about the lights getting cut off and stuff like my bills and responsibilities. Life is not happening to me. Like I take pleasure in the responsibilities.
And ladies and gentlemen, before I go any further, I know y'all already heard from him already, but that is Dr. Hold on. But that is, ladies and gentlemen, that is we get to Antoine in a minute. But that's Dr. Easley, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Thomas Rashad Easley. He was here last week again. Go back last week. Just going to force y'all to go back and watch last week's video. It was a good video anyway, so just get an opportunity to find out a little bit more about Dr. Easley, who he is. So, Dr. Easley, welcome to the show. With that being said, brother, how was your week, man? Hold on, I muted you. All right, there you go.
Mic check. What's going on? My
Gotcha.
greetings, brothers. Good to see y'all, and thank you, for having this time. It's been a good week. It actually has been a good week. I've been busy. I've been solving problems and coming up with some good solutions, and just continuing to take care of myself and stuff. So just with that alone, it's already been a good week and made some things happen. So that makes it even better.
Well, definitely appreciate and very happy to have you here this evening, man. Like I said, man, you guys could be somewhere else, but you guys chose to hang out with the Wolfpack tonight. So I'm very grateful and thankful that I even know you guys, that I was even able to reach out and you guys said yes. So I definitely appreciate that, and I don't take that lightly, Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know this person, never mind. Ladies and gentlemen,
Up on the big screen.
use him. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Antoine, the other artist, he was one of the original members of the Elevator Dialogue show that we had a couple years ago here on the YouTube channel. Most people remembers Antoine. He is very exciting. He is kind of something that he's kind of like a wart or something that kind of grow on you. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe not a wart, but I'm just picking Antoine. Antoine, you know we love you, man. You my guy. You my man, 50 grand. So, ladies and gentlemen,
I miss all you guys, man.
Antoine Christopher, the other artist. Antoine, how are you doing? Tell us a little bit about yourself and welcome to the show.
Dude, man, it's great to see you guys again. Vic! The guys are here. I've been busy. I've been really busy with work. A lot of things have picked up. So heavily been busy. But I'm glad to be back. I was looking forward to this. I wasn't going to miss it. Wasn't going to let you guys down. Sorry about last week. Had a little technical difficulty still understanding this computer stuff. But, blessed. Dr. Easley, I remember you. Hope you remember me.
Of course I do, Antoine. It's good to see you, man.
I think everybody.
I remember you. How's those books of yours?
They going good, brother.
All right, I'm ready for tonight. Let's do it.
I think everybody who has ever watched Elevated Dialogue remember you, Antoine. Oh man,
that's not a good thing, man.
No, that's a great thing, man. That means that you was able to capture, like you was able to hold someone's memory. You know what I mean? That's a good thing, a bad thing.
I don't know about that, but
yeah. All right. So, hey, gentlemen, with that being said, I know I kind of got a follow-up question for y'all. Was there ever a, for any of y'all, was there ever a time where or a moment that kind of force you to grow up? I know I'll just speak for me to kind of start it, and then I'll let you guys chew on it a little bit. So was there ever a moment that forced you to grow up? So for me, it was in 1994. Yep, that's how long ago it was. I was in basic training, and it was around Thanksgiving time. So back then they gave out letters and stuff. So they like Martin, and they throw your letter, and if it go into the mud or wherever, you just go pick it up. You know what I mean? So that day I had a whole bunch of letters. So then after that, I had to go to the payphone. I know Gaddy, some of y'all young folks, y'all don't know what that is. That's a place where you go, you put a quarter in there, and you can talk on, you can call somebody. Like we in '94. So I called collect or something like that, 1-800 call ATT or whatever it was. And then I called and I talked to my girlfriend at the time, and I was like, yeah, I got all these letters. And she was like, oh yeah, so I'm pregnant. I was like, no, I ain't get that one yet. So that's how I found out that, I was having my first child, who's 31 now, but that was a moment that forced me to grow up. Like once that child came out and I became a father, like I no longer, whoever mic that is. So I got thrown into it really quick. You know what I'm saying? So like once I became a father, now I'm responsible for medical and dental and vision and providing and Similac and formula and Pampers and all the different things and providing and teaching and all of these things. And it's like there was really no one there to really teach me at the time because I was in Colorado. My parents and family and everybody else was somewhere else. I was in the army, so I was gone and I was away. So for me, that was a moment that forced me to grow up. So for you guys, you gentlemen, what was the moment that forced you to grow up?
Well, what I'll say is, I think the moment that forced me to grow up, I never forget, was the time my wife and I were married. It was the earlier part of our marriage, and we were struggling, financially. I think our lights were off and everything, and so we had actually, wanted to talk to my father-in-law, asked him, could we, stay there to get things situated. And I never forget his response. And I actually said to him not long ago, I thank him for, how he was hard on me. And his response was, he looked at me and he said, didn't you say you were going to take care of my daughter? I said, yes, sir. And he said, well, no, you can't stay here. You better figure it out. That right there, although it didn't feel good, it didn't feel good back then, but it made me better. And I realized, okay, this is manhood. I have to really step it up.
I got a similar situation. This was probably 2011. And I had lost my job. It was a pretty good paying job, and I was a breadwinner. I had a wife, and I think my daughter was 2 years old. And very similar situation, but I had to dig down and think that, hey, I got to take care of my family. So I did everything in my power to scrape and get things together. Luckily, I didn't have to do any illegal things, but I think the time when I didn't have a job and I was out of state. I moved my family to Central Virginia, and my whole family is from North Carolina, and I felt like I had lost in life. So I had to buckle down and get it back together. And lo and behold, got another job, moved to North Carolina, and I've been on the up and up the last 15 years.
I think mine is similar to yours. It was the becoming a father. It wasn't the struggles, because life was just a struggle. And then for the record, I don't know when you think I was born. I wasn't born in the 2000s. We had payphones. Had to get that out the way. All right. But even in basic training. But anyway, to just stay on topic. But it was that moment of realization when I came back from deployment and my son was there, and I realized at that moment on I can't fail. Whatever it is I was going to do, I couldn't fail any longer because you know two adults, me and mama, we could figure stuff out. We're grown, but he can't figure nothing out. He need me, and then more of them kept coming, and I couldn't quit. So we still checking.
Anybody else?
Oh, I was
Go ahead, Antoine.
I keep getting muted.
Yeah, because you got a lot of background
Can you
noise
hear
going on.
me?
You're over there eating your nuts again.
There ain't nothing
You're
happening in
catching
here.
it. Huh?
My story is not as dramatic as you guys. My story is I remember when I became I really was. It was when what did you say? Life changing? Is that what you said? I just want to make it
Yeah,
clear.
when was a moment that forced you to grow up, or was there a moment that forced you to grow up?
Okay. Yeah, the moment that forced me to grow up, I think, emotionally, a bit mentally, was when I lost my first serious relationship. I think that because I had to go to my dad for that one. I said, Dad, I can't process this shit. I'm so pissed. And I think that's when I really said, like, oh my God, like this is part of life. The loss is part of life. Like you really have to elevate yourself to a next level. That was for me. Everything else was under control with work and school, doing my thing, but I didn't know how to process that. That was like, I'm not talking the fling. I'm talking about someone you were really serious with. Like I thought, okay, this is the one I'm gonna marry, right? At my early stage in life, and I had to go to my dad for this one. He had to help me break it down and understand the process of letting go, and things change, and this is when you don't have control over what other people do. And that was it for me. I was like, oh man, okay, so you can, because if it's something injured, you can kind of heal it and all that sort of stuff. But you couldn't put a bandage on this. You couldn't put a bandage on it. You just had to go by it. You had to just suck it up. Yeah, I would say that. Is that good?
You good, Antoine?
Hello? Okay.
Hold on, Antoine.
Go ahead,
I
Dr.
gotta
Easton.
Oh my God.
Yeah, mine came when I was 15 years old. So man says 33 years ago, 1993, and I got into some trouble. Got into a lot of trouble in high school, and I basically ended up getting kicked out of school. And at that time, I was like the smartest, not smartest student, but I was definitely the smartest guy in our class. And I ended up still being that, but it was like this, the shame of that, the embarrassment of that, and then also losing, kind of like, it's like, because I got in trouble and it was so public, it's like I lost a girlfriend. It's like I lost all my friends. And then I had to, it was nothing that my parents could get me out of, you know. And so I'm like 15, like, dang, and I was a good kid, I wasn't, not, in the street, didn't necessarily join anything. But the truth is, what's funny is that's really what I was trying to do. I was trying to be in the cool crew. And so I had something that wasn't mine. I got caught with it. And then of course I didn't tell, how I got it, who I got it from, and all, and all of that stuff. And it was funny, the same people who gave it to me were the same ones who just stopped talking. And I'm like, hold up. I thought, so then, so I learned, that was kind of like one of my first big lessons, about, like just not us learning to not be focused on fairness and learn how to be able to take responsibility. And the other thing is like, don't do something if you can't handle the consequences. And so I learned that very early. So then when I got to college, I would see people hit that wall all the time, and I'm just kind of looking at them like, oh man, I learned that like 3 or 4 years ago. And so that was it was a lesson that I'm thankful that I learned early in life.
Man, definitely appreciate everybody's perspective. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we have another member up here. And I know some of y'all may know him if y'all tune in on Friday nights. If you was here on Elevated Dialogue, if you ever watched Coach's Corner. Ladies and gentlemen, we have none other than Dr. Dwayne Dwyer, certified coach and speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, Coach Mr. Dwayne, how are you doing, sir? Welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how was your week?
Man, that was a lot.
It was a lot.
What's up, fellas? Good to see everybody again. Yeah, I'm me. I'm Dwayne Dwyer. That's it, the mindset coach. That has been my mantra for quite some time now. I tend to focus on helping people achieve better versions of themselves by helping them to challenge the assumptions. Get rid of some of those negative thinking patterns that they have. Teaching them the process and understanding of neuroplasticity and all kind of stuff like that. Um, like you mentioned, I have my own podcast, my own YouTube channel. It used to be called Empower and Perspective. We since rebranded that to Dwayne Dwyer, the Mindset Coach, for a good reason. And then from there, you have 4 different shows. The Hearts of Men, you have the Hearts of Women, you have Coach's Corner, and you have Reframing the Image of Relationship. And then I kind of spearhead the Mindset Academy. And under that, we do a lot of teaching, coaching, and training. So it's just it about me, man. I'm just a common Southern guy that enjoy life and enjoy helping people. And again, good to see everybody again. Dr. Easley, Vic, good to see you. Gaddy, always good to see you. Dave, Brother Brown, I don't think we ever met, but I think we did meet one time before. You got a church in Atlanta, right? In the Atlanta area.
No, sir.
Okay, I'm sorry. Wrong pastor. I apologize. Good to see you anyway, brother. And
Yes,
Walt,
sir.
good to see you, brother. Yeah, that's it. I don't know if you wanted me to kind of chime in and answer the question. Mine's simple. Birthing my first son, bro. That was it.
Coach, you forgot me.
Yeah, Antoine down there.
Oh
He blacked
man,
out. His
I
camera
can't
ain't
even see you,
working.
bro. Like,
You know
what's
he
going
gonna
on?
he ain't
chime
no
in,
camera.
Vic.
Yeah,
He's
I can't
mad
see
about
you,
me.
bro. What's going on? Good to see you, man. Good to see you.
Good to see his name. We can't even. You don't even know who down there. It's just a
Come on
dark
to the room.
space.
Come on to the room and show us that good hair, bro. Where you at?
Look, Antoine's been trying to work technology for 6 years.
Yeah, talking about man, background noise. Y'all can hear that? Stop, man. Yo,
You back to slinging
I
paintbrush.
love Antoine. Yeah, go ahead, Coach.
Is it that
You
much
want that
noise?
moment again?
yeah, it really is. It's a lot of noise.
What was it,
Sound
Coach?
like you're sound like he's in the flooded bathroom.
Yeah.
No, but to you,
I'll go
question,
last on the Forced to Grow update. Go ahead, let Coach
Okay.
speak, man.
Yeah, mine's a simple, bro. It was my first
Mute
child was
Antoine.
born. When my son was born. Um, we were married, young newlyweds, all that other great stuff. But at that point, it became bigger than me. You know what I'm saying? I got responsibilities. I got mouths to feed. Like, my wife, she's an adult. We was doing our thing, trying to figure life out, all that other great stuff without even having the simplest amount of guidance. Just being transparent. Parents, they weren't really a whole lot of help because they were still trying to figure their thing out. But then when that child came along, bro, it was just something different. It hit different, especially the boy child, right? Because my firstborn is a boy. Then I had 2 girls. Then I had another boy on the backside. But when that first boy came along, man, it was just something that just hit me. I knew I needed to do something different. Other than that, prior to that, man, I was, working, going to school at the same time. But when he came along, I said, hey, I went to the recruiting station and said, hey, man, I need to do something different. I need some benefits. You know what I'm saying? I need a steady income. It was amazing. It was mostly the benefits, if I'm just being being honest. The benefits was a big deal for me. So that was it, man. That's the thing that made me say, you know what, you got a total line and you got to take care of your responsibility.
Yeah, I think for me, oh, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
I think the thing that made me grow up is when I had to start making unpopular decisions, that went against the expectations of other people, because can't nobody care about you the way that you supposed to care about you. And the most unpopular decision, the first one that I made was I had to abolish paternity of a child that was not mine genetically because she was born out of a marriage from somebody else. And when I found out about it, it was like 9 years later. And so there's a lot of people that say, well, you can still do this, you can still do. They're not living with that. So making a unpopular decision that benefits you is a moment where in time it forces you to grow up, because like it's only so much manipulation you can live with before it changes you in a different type of way. And you have to be you have to be comfortable with making uncomfortable decisions. Because in general, a man's life ain't hard, especially if you well mean it, you know. And if you come in with operating in good faith, that doesn't mean other people are. Um, so I would say that, having having a child born from a marriage that wasn't mine, and then abolishing paternity when I knew the circumstances, and what I'm saying, being able to live with that, that's a hard ass decision to make. And I think as in general, I've said this, quite a few times that a man's life ain't easy. It's supposed to be hard. Um, Making decisions are easy, in concept, but actually following through with them is the point where it determines your maturity about something. Making hard right decisions.
I think one of the things that I noticed and what I found interesting is that it seems like all of us men, when that moment that forced us to grow up happened or showed up in our life, we were at different ages. You know what I mean? So like for me, I found I had my son at 19. David talked about his, he was in a marriage when his happened. Vic, you talked about yours like 9 years after something. And different people spoke about those different things. But, I just found it interesting that we were all at different ages, where because, a lot of people say, well, turn, like I mentioned at the beginning, at 18, we're forcing students and even our parents, some of our parents forced us ahead. 18, you graduated. Now you need to make a decision that's going to determine the outcome of or that could potentially determine the outcome of the remainder of your life. So it's a lot of pressure right there. So like I said, it was interesting. So why do y'all think, and I know there's a whole bunch of different reasons why, but why do y'all think that some guys, get it early and it hit at 19? Like for me, I woke up at 19. That's when I had that moment. But there are also kids and there are dudes who had kids at 19 and 20, but their aha moment or that moment that forced them to grow up. Maybe they didn't want to be in the kid's life, but maybe it was something that was 6 years down the road. So why do you think that we all have so many? And I know it's the basic answer is because we're all different. But why do you think that some people experience it earlier and some people experience it later in life or different things like that? Just anybody.
I think it depends on what was modeled in the other home. Like if you came from a home that modeled stability, you'll probably tolerate and have a lot more patience about certain things than what you would expect. But if you come from a situation where there's a lot of hostility in your household, a lot of indifference, not a lot of support, you might be completely reactive to something. You might be right, but you may not necessarily handle it with the best tact and the best professionalism or whatever, right? You might escalate a situation that would just require you to just simply walk away from. I think it has a lot to do with the behaviors that you see modeled in your household coming up from your parents than whatever your situation is.
I think it's environment too. I think it has something to do with the environment you grow up in, right? Because the wealthy don't really feel it as early as we do, because they're pampered until they get to a certain age, until reality hits them or somebody punches them in the face. and they see that, you know what, they don't control everything. And it all depends on what age you come from. But I think that has a big thing to do with it. Your environment and how you're raised and where you were raised. That plays a role, that's what I believe.
For me, I think it's not necessarily your actual intelligence, but your emotional intelligence. So when you are a teenager, for example, like Dr. E was saying, he found out early on that, hey, uh, these people around me, they're not helping me with this. I got to figure this thing out on my own when he got in his situation. And he had to grow up real fast and understand that I got to do this on my own. I got to take care of business myself. When I was in my situation, I couldn't stand back and look at others to try to help me out. I had to figure this thing out on my own. And I'm not speaking for Dr. E, but for me, I had to think about, okay, if I don't do this, what is at stake? And if I don't succeed, I got a lot of people, whether it's my wife and my child at the time, they're counting on me to be the best person that I am. And I had to look at myself and say, hey, let's get it done.
I think it's also what I think is, at a certain point, like I said, sometimes, we all mature differently at different paces or phases. But I think it's also comes to a point when you are tired of going through the same cycle, when you're tired of going through the same cycle and then not just going through the same cycle, but also I believe that you want to break the cycle, when you want to break the cycle, you might have been raised this way and you might have been used to this happening, this happening, this happening. But now that you realize, okay, now for those if you're married and you have children, and then you realize, hey, this family I am responsible for. And so now I have to man up, and in manning up, then there's just certain things I just can't do anymore. And so with that, you got to break that cycle. And once I believe the cycle is broken, that's when the change will happen. That's what I believe.
I'm gonna switch gears a little bit. I want to switch to something that we always hear, and that's that word respect. There are different ways of looking at it. People have their own interpretation of it. Some people believe that, I ain't gonna respect you unless you respect me. Some people believe that, hey, I'm gonna respect the other person even though they don't respect me because that's just who I am. So what I want y'all gentlemen to do is with this statement, you can pick it apart, dissect it, do whatever you want to with it. But I just want to chew on this right now, and especially the respect piece right now, because there's something, especially as men, that we talk about a lot, especially one of the places I hear it a lot of is when it comes to women and relationships, and how men, one of the main things that they want from their woman is respect. So respect is a big thing to men. So just again, being respected is earned through consistency, not demanded through words. Gentlemen, have at it.
I could speak on that. I'm at the stage in my life where I demand respect now. I'm at this place in my life where I demand it. I put myself in a place where people have no problem giving it. It's not about everybody at my age and who I socialize with know that it's earned. They've earned it already. And they know that once for me, I can walk away. I don't need you like that. I have enough friends. You mean nothing to me. If I'm doing business with you, it's business. If you're my friend, then you won't disrespect me because you know how I handle it. I think everybody gets to a stage in life. If somebody has to tell you to respect them, that's not the person for you. That's a child. Because grown men know respect. Men that have a purpose, on their purpose, conduct themselves properly as fully functional men, always give respect first until they see a reason otherwise. And if they see a reason otherwise, you're able to cut that person off. So I put myself in that position. right? And I think that's how I look at respect. Everybody I socialize with, unless it's a stranger that doesn't really know me well, gives me respect. As far as women, well, if I mean, I picked her. If she doesn't know, if she, I mean, I picked her. So that's not even a question. And I'll check her right off the bat. I'll check her right off the bat. There's no negotiation when it comes to respect because I know I'm going to give her respect, right? I'm going to give her the utmost respect. I'm going to let her know her role. She's going to know my role, and she's going to operate within that. If she goes outside of that, I'll check her and put her back in. That's all. Listen, I go like I said it before in the last show. You put a woman on a pedestal, that's cool. Until she becomes a bitch, you take her down and you check her, and then you put her back up on the pedestal. That's it. That's how it works. That's what I believe.
I'm in the
Ladies and
mind.
gentlemen, that's Antoine Christopher 555-555-5555.
Call the right number. No, so I'm of a different mind than most people when it comes to respect. I don't believe respect. I don't believe you earn respect from me. To me, respect is a show of my character. When I meet you as a person, male, female, whatever, I'm going to give you the respect that I would any other person, whether I knew you well or not. You can earn my lack of respect. You could definitely do that, right? But the respect to me, I think, is more. It's more a show of who you are, and then the same thing. I think sometimes we can get close to blurring the lines between the respect thing and then the boundaries. I think they can become the same conversation, but it can be the way I'm hearing the question. It could be a different conversation. So it's not. I can't make you respectful, but I could. This is YouTube. This is a family platform. I'm about to say, y'all know how I grew up. You know what I mean? So, well, those who know me know how I grew up. I'm in a different mindset. I can't make you respect me, but I could definitely put an end to your disrespect, right? As men. But I think as men, we understand that that's the level that we go to when we begin to disrespect one another. Like, hey, there's a possibility I'm I'm gonna have to bob and weave, so that talks about who you are more than it talks about what I can demand or pull from you.
See, I'm in that same mindset when it comes to respect. Respect is not only a display of my character, but it's also a understanding of the person who created you. I dare not disrespect that person. Therefore, I dare not disrespect you because of that. So I do believe, sometimes we kind of blur the line based upon our untethered emotions. And sometimes our emotions put us in the space of disrespecting another person. And like Gaddy just said so elegantly, that's where those boundaries have to come in. Because trust and believe, if you carry yourself in the right manner, you don't deal, you're not in the environment where a lot of disrespectful people exist. And in fact, you're in an environment to where the people that you're around, they kind of have the same mindset that you do. Therefore, now you dare not disrespect another person because of who you are, not because of anything of that nature. And if that person behaves in a disrespectful manner, you kind of pull them aside and have a one-on-one with them, as opposed to meeting them at the level of their disrespect. So that's why I say I'm right along with Gaddy on this one, because I think a lot of times we go around demanding respect, but we don't necessarily have the level of respect for ourselves to get actually garnish that respect that we're talking about.
When you say we don't have respect for ourselves, what do you mean? The person that is talking about respect, you saying the person doesn't have respect for himself?
Yeah. So a lot of times, going back to what I said about the environment and the people that you surround yourselves with. So a lot of times we tend to. I don't mean this in any disrespectful manner when I say it, but we just got our paycheck and we shopping on the clearance rack. If that makes sense, just do the analogy, right? You hanging out in the hood, you ain't got no business hanging out in the hood. Not talking bad about people from the hood because I came from the hood, but I'm just saying Like that's not this crowd that you're trying to associate. You're looking for slim pickings. You're looking for low hanging fruit. That's what you're really doing. Well, why are you doing that? Simply because at the end of the day, there's not a whole lot of work you got to put behind that. There's not a lot of expectations coming from that person except for one or two things, and you know what they are. So that's what I mean when I say that. You don't have the necessary level of respect for yourself to maintain the frequency that you say that you are, but yet when the sun goes down, the lights goes off, and the camera goes off, you cruising 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. For what? You ain't going to the gas station. You know what your grandma told you about that gas station.
And also, when I'm looking at the statement, it said it's earned through consistency. And I believe, and a couple of you mentioned character, and I believe, your consistency and your character will go hand in hand. And so if I'm consistently showing up, I'm consistently being present, as a man, I'm consistently being present as a husband, consistently being present as a father. My words don't have to say, hey, respect me, but the consistent behaviors will, begin to show. And in that, respect will just automatically be there because of the lifestyle that I'm living, and I'm consistently showing character. And I believe that's the thing, as men, and, because, like I said, some of us are old school, and, some of our parents, my dad, he was the type of father who demanded it, but the life that he lived didn't warrant it, if you understand what I'm saying. And so it's not a thing of what I ask you to give me, it's what am I showing and how am I being consistent in order for that respect to be given. And I believe that's the key right there. That's another avenue and another key as it relates to this.
How many times have we heard this statement, do as I say, not what I do? And a lot of times it's coming from our elders that, we're running that lifestyle. They were running the streets. They were doing things that morally wasn't the right thing to do, in my book. My mom is a godly woman, and she'll probably be very proud for me saying this, but we are all God's children. And for me, respect is if you're here, if I can see you, if I can touch you, feel you, I'm gonna show you that respect until you give me a reason to not show you the respect, and then I don't want to have anything to do with you after that. But at the end of the day, I look at a person's reputation, I look at their character, like we've been saying before, and I look and see what that person repeatedly does to not only earn the respect that he has, but to keep that respect as well. And it's not necessarily in the words that a person says, but how they carry themselves. And that's where I find a lot of people that I respect, that I look up to, that I would love for them to be my mentors, and I gravitate towards them a whole lot easier than somebody who says, do as I say and not as I do.
Do y'all All right, so do y'all think men spend, let me take this question off. Do y'all think men spend too much time being liked versus being respected? Now, we can go all the way back to high school if we want to. I know in high school, a lot of us, we was trying to impress little girls, and some of us, I know me, that led to an early life of simping. I didn't demand respect. I wanted to be liked. I wanted the girls to like me. I didn't want to be respected. If they disrespected me or they said something or did whatever, it wasn't as important because I wanted to be liked. I wanted to have a girlfriend. You know what I'm saying? So let's fast forward or not fast forward. So with that being said, do y'all think, you know what I mean?
Let me
That it kind of changes and like what we expect out of like the whole respect versus being liked. Do you think that guys want to be liked more than respected? And if so, is that a problem? Is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? Like, what do you Compare, contrast, however you want to respect and being liked.
Put the statement back up because I want to answer that, and it's going to roll into what you just asked.
Which one?
The one that we just talked about, the respect thing, because I didn't speak on it yet.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So this is what I was writing in during the conversation. Respect is about purity and integrity of character and self-esteem, confidence, and competence. Having a lot to lose and chancing it in the wrong situations for attention and vanity risks your own self-respect. Respect is the floor of comprehension and effective communication. Respect is like virginity, and you have to give an opportunity for a person to remove the respect that you begin with. It's up to the person to determine how far the respect goes before they become disrespectful of themselves. Nobody deserves to be treated better than their behavior, and that applies to the person that is judging also. So to talk about the men that experience a period in their life where they are simps and they're doing everything to be liked instead of respected, it's the easy way out because they're really looking at what people respond to and they're willing to perform. You know, when you stop being willing to perform and people start detaching themselves from you or feeling threatened by your stance for your own level of self-respect, then that's when you experience this separation where you really become a nomad. You really become about yourself first, because how are you going to foster healthy relationships where you are respected if all you're doing is performing? What happens when you stop performing for the attention, you know? And that's why, like, when you said the simping part, right? That's like part of a man's natural life, regardless how it looks, you know what I'm saying? Because you're operating in good faith, thinking that if I do what somebody else likes for me to do, that it will reciprocate in a different way where they will embrace me, right? And then that's not reality for the other person because they're not in it for the same reason that you're in it. You know what I'm saying? So you go from being a simp, which is a male pick me, willing to do any and everything for acceptance, to actually becoming masculine. And men that are masculine don't do things just to be liked. Like respect is only it only exists when there's a consequence for it. But if there's no consequence for you not like being liked by somebody, then there is no respect. You know, like nobody looks at a lion and says it's cute. They say it's a lion because they realize they can eat them. People like respect and fear go hand in hand. I don't care when people say, well, you know, they hear that question, would you rather be loved or respected? I'd rather be respected because people that love you, they'll play on your top all day. Those are people that take advantage of you. You know what I'm saying? But if there's a consequence that's associated with being affiliated with you, that's worth way more in terms of respect. And again, I keep saying this. Nobody deserves to be treated better than their behavior. So if you spend your life being liked or attempting to be liked, be prepared to be manipulated the rest of your life. Because they know that you'll do anything to be liked. They will use you for attention. Those people that think opposite of you. That's all I want to say.
I have to say, wait a minute, to piggyback off what Vic says. I mean, I can ask each and every one of you, do you think you have enough friends in your life? And, you know, I can count the ones that I have friends that I could depend on when things go bad, and I have a lot of acquaintances. I have enough friends. I don't think at a certain age you need to be liked. Are you doing business with the person? Because you have your friends. Are you doing business with the person? Yeah, you want to be liked if you're doing business with the person because you want that business. But this whole, you have to be, why are you operating under that premise? Like, what do you need that person for? I think if you don't have your own self together, mentally, physically, emotionally, then you're going to operate on wanting to be liked because you need friends. But this whole, I need to do this and get liked and I need that person to like, why? What are they going to bring into your life that you need them to like? I think that's a character flaw in you. That's what I believe. Because if I have enough friends, I don't care if you like me or not, just trying to check. because there's no other reason for us to communicate. We ain't gonna break bread over a dinner table. I don't need you further than business. Unless now we're getting to know each other, we're gonna be friends. Oh, you know what? Everything's cool. Okay, you know, the respect is gonna come with it. But I don't operate on the premise of needing somebody to like me. Why? What do you need them to like you for? I mean, you're gonna tell a girl what she wants to hear, not what she needs to hear until you get her. Then you're gonna tell her what she needs to hear. I mean, that's the way you should operate with people. That's all I want to say.
So
you want to go, Doc?
No, go ahead, bro. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Well, I think also with this, when you are worried about being liked, it also, in my opinion, it taps into an area where then you also dealing with some insecurities. Because if you worrying about this person, that person, or whoever liking you, then you are not confident in who you are, confident in who God created you to be. And so now I'm always worried about, oh man, if I don't make this decision, they're not going to like me or they're going to be mad at me. And so then I'm not confident in my manhood. And so I'm so focused on that I'm losing respect. And then the thing is, what happens is not just people losing respect for you or whatever, but then when you continue to live like that and go on that path, you people pleasing and you worrying about this person liking you, then what happens ultimately is that you have lost respect for yourself.
So I want to kind of go back because you asked a question previously about men getting it early. And I think this question and that question go hand in hand. And here's why I say that. Because I believe wholeheartedly that for the most part, those men that get it early, they had a proper upbringing. That proper upbringing had two parents in the home that modeled a level of understanding about their creator. They passed that level of understanding down to that child, and that created a sense of responsibility in that child at a very young age. And then from that point on, they grew and grew and grew and continued to develop in that responsibility and accountability. And then they got to the point that they started understanding relationship development, relationship nurturing, so forth and so on. I think all of those things exist when you have the proper upbringing, which creates a healthy foundation for that child or that young man to actually exist. Now, once that young man has a proper foundation, he is not looking to be validated. Why? Because he has a better understanding of who he is. Once a man have a good understanding of who he is, he's not looking to be liked. He is looking to actually like make path, make ways, create a legacy starting at the beginning where he starts to develop something to where once he decide to get married, once he decide to have children, they not only come in and get to exist in his aura, but they start working together to build something that's influential for the community. I think when we go back and understand the core competency of all of this, this is all about identity formation. And a lot of people who are still looking to be liked is only because they don't have a clear understanding of their identity, because ultimately that is the foundation of their esteem. So people who have low self-esteem, they look to be liked. And listen, all of us on this panel, I will call us senior men. That's what I'm going to say. But turn back the hands of time, gentlemen. Y'all know when y'all was in high school, the kicks had to be right, the fit had to be right. We did it all for the attention. Stop playing. We knew that. We knew. Listen, we was looking for somebody to give us some attention. It meant no, not your attention. I don't want you to. I'm looking for her to give me attention, not you. You in the mud duck category. I want to talk to you. I want to talk to this one over here. This we had a cheerleader. Yeah, yeah. We all did that, right? Because we were still in that stage where we were trying to understand our identity. But at some point, the light switch flipped on. When that light switch flipped on, you be like, hey, you know what? There's a lot to this thing called manhood. There's a lot that I'm responsible for. There's a lot of people that I'm accountable for as well that are dependent upon me, going back to the first question, that are dependent upon me to be a stable foundation for what it is that we're trying to build. So I'm just going to leave that out there. I think, like I said, I love this question because it's tied to the first one. And if we're not going back and looking at identity formation, we're kind of missing a big picture.
Man, I might as well go because Coach has a bad habit of coming before me and saying exactly what I was working in my brain, but a little bit more profound. So that's why I usually try to beat them to the mic. I'm joking a little bit, but when I'm looking at this question, when I'm thinking about people who are trying to be liked, especially as men, I'm going exactly where Coach just went. Like that, I find that half of our problems today is that the majority of us didn't grow up seeing what male respect looked like in a home. And so, because we don't know what that looks like, only thing we're used to is mama's acceptance, right? When we do the right thing, makes mama happy, we get what we want from mama, right? Yeah, come on, we're all boys. And if your mama was in your life, you know how that relationship was with mama. We knew how to get what we needed out of mama, and mama knew how to get the love and attention she wanted from her boys, right? But what happens in that dynamic that our generations had to go through is we had to figure out what that male respect looked like by ourselves. This is why you got a lot of young men out there right now in the hood right now thinking that they fighting for respect. I don't know what in the world they're fighting for, but it ain't respect. But in their mind, it is because we're trying to identify what that looks like. I just know that what you said to me makes me feel like you deserve some repercussions. So I'm gonna go to the extreme because no one taught me emotional regulation. So now we're gonna take this to the extreme response. And I think we're stuck this, and that's why I like this question, because I think we're stuck right here in the paradox because of this, because we don't see this. We're not exposed. A lot of us are not exposed to male respect until we leave home and we become quote unquote men ourselves. And then we start not bumping our heads against the wall over and over again, because a lot of these things we didn't learn as a part of our upbringing. And then even then, when we're being taught about how to be men, we're being taught from 13 different points of standards. I tell people all the time, we cannot have a serious conversation about how to move forward unless we can agree on the foundation of which we build our conversation on. If we're not built on a solid foundation, we really don't have a conversation. At least with me, I can only speak for Twami. If we're not built off that, I can take your degrees, I can take your educational background, but my baseline is building off the word, and to me that creates a unified understanding going forward on what on what we're teaching our young men, because this is half the problem too. My home, Unc home, Coach home, Vic home, Pastor home, Walk home. I'm trying to remember everybody's name, but we all teaching a different version of what manhood looks like in our homes. And our boys are going out here warring about respect, because as a people, as a culture, this is not something that is happening as the ground as the ground training of being a man, which should happen in a home by the father.
So let me first say, Coach, you kind of stole my entire premise of my next book that I got coming out, man. I mean, word for word, you stole everything. So, but for me, that answer to that question, I'm gonna take a personal turn. For me personally, I learned that respect and popularity often travels different roads. One road will take you to where do you fit in, and then the other one will take you where you stand firm, and you got to stand firm on several different things. I became stronger when I stopped measuring my work by who liked me, and I started measuring. I started measuring things by whether my actions match my character, match my values. So, um, my mom, my grandmom, they they wanted me to be the best man I possibly could be, especially after my dad passed away. And even though um, they could not teach me how to be a man, when I was 14 years old, I asked my mom, could I go live with my grandfather? And she's like, why? I was like, well, he seems like a good man, and I need to learn how to be a man. So there I went to go live with my grandfather. We didn't heat our house by touching a button. We heated our house by chopping wood and loading a wood heater up. He showed me how to take care of yourself. He fed me. He cooked for me. He did a lot of great things that a mother is supposed to do. But he also said, "Look, if you're gonna be a man, you got to take care of yourself, and you got to hold yourself to a higher standard than everybody else." So carrying wood, chopping wood, taught me one thing. Priming tobacco taught me another. Some of y'all don't even know what that is, priming tobacco. But but I will say, the girls in school, they know who the ones who's gonna be good in the long run if they're a good girl. So if there's a young man out there listening right now, and you got the little flashy girl trying to get up in your DMs or whatever, hey man, just because you got nice kicks or you got good hair like Antoine, watch out. Watch out.
Hey, gentlemen,
But
we got
isn't it fair to say that's why these kids?
hold on, Antoine.
Sorry.
Hold on, Antoine. Hey, we got a comment that I want to get to. That I only want to take Alfred. Definitely appreciate you chiming in. Shoot me a message on Facebook. And we'll see about if we do another series about being on the podcast. So, but with that being said, as a man, I don't need anyone else's respect or them liking me. So I only want 2 people to respond on this. So the 2 people I want to respond on this, take about a minute to 2 minutes to respond on this, no more, because I want to move on to the next topic before we end the show. So I want my Alabama boys. So I want Dr. Easley and Vic, both of them from Alabama. So I want my Alabama boys to chime in on this question. So, or this statement. So what are your thoughts on this right here? As a man, I don't need anyone else's respect or them liking me. 2 minutes, go.
Well, mine is real short and sweet. If they're not talking about what I'm talking about, then we don't have nothing to talk about. Because how far are we going to push a conversation when we're diametrically opposed to the same idea? I'm not your audience, and you're not mine. And I think being willing to disengage before it even happens, that shows respect to the other person, because I don't want to have to get into no exchange that's, what I'm saying, not being done in good faith and just being done in malice and cattiness, you know. And the other thing is too, I might be talking about something that they don't understand at this point in time, and it's not my job to go back and give them understanding. They have to live their life till what I'm saying makes sense. How many times have you been to church and the pastor say something 4 sermons ago, maybe 2 years ago, and it finally resonates with you in some, real life situation? Because everybody crosses the same streets at different times. Maybe not necessarily at the same time, but at different times. But go ahead, Doc.
Thank you, brother. As I'm always learning from you, you know that. I'm trying to keep it as concise and precise if I can too. So because I love myself and because I think that I know what I'm talking about, I trust myself. All right. Now I know like in Proverbs, it tells us not to lean not to down on understanding, in all the ways acknowledge him, and he will direct our path. So I want to make sure that I, put that there. But I think that when the word is rooted in your heart, you're going to get to a point where the decisions that you make, you trust the decisions that you're making because you understand the foundation that it's coming from. And so when you love yourself, you don't need anybody to like you. I say that part. When you love yourself, I don't need you to like me. If you're going to love me, love me. I don't care what my woman even technically feels about me. What I'm concerned about is how I feel about her. I'm just being, because I understand the actual dynamic. If I'm more concerned about that, then that means my eyes is off of what it is that I need to be taken care of. And if I'm taking care of what I need to, then I don't have to worry about that anyway. Okay. So then the part about I don't need anyone else's respect. If I respect myself, like I don't need your respect for me to respect me. You know what I'm saying? It's like I don't need like someone else's opinion of me doesn't even matter. You see, because the opinion I have of myself is strong enough. So, it's like if someone's like, oh man, he talked too strong. It ain't my fault that they so weak. Oh man, he seems too hard. That's not my problem that they so soft. Oh man, he seemed like he's kind of easy. Well, it's my fault that I'm charismatic and that I'm smooth until you cross me. And then I say there's one last thing. And I've heard not on this panel. This panel, I ain't doing nothing but learning. I've been on other panels and people will say this, right? Like say if you're getting ready to connect with new people, well, how do we build trust? And I'm sitting there like, to me, only people who say something like that are untrustworthy people. Build trust. I'm like, I'm not worried about building your trust. Like y'all said, my concern is how do I not lose it? So I'm going to learn about you. I'm going to learn what you do, but I'm going to be a person of my word and do what I say. So I don't worry about your trust. I worry about focusing on me and managing myself. And then as long as I do that, I don't have to worry about you. So the same way I don't have to worry about you, I ain't worried about you worrying about me. So I don't need your respect. I don't need you to like me. I like and I love myself. And then I think that like and that respect from myself and you will connect. And then we'll like and we'll respect each other, over time, because it's not forced. It's like, oh man, I did. Every time I listen to Vic, it's nothing but knowledge. I respect what he's saying because I know what he's about, but I'm always like, dang, I don't win another light year ahead. You see, so what's there not to like? You see what I'm saying? It's like, dang, it's nothing but respect. So that's it. Thank you. I think I was a little
All
on
right,
2 minutes.
gentlemen. Yeah, man. I definitely appreciate it, man. I'm looking at the time, man. We got to wrap this thing up. But before we do, I got one more statement that I want to bring up. Because I think that this is something that we all can kind of sort of relate to. And this is kind of part of the reason why the whole series is out of here is because this is something on here. Now, one thing that I don't want to do is I don't want us to, we're not up here throwing a pity party about all of the stuff that men go through. That's not what this statement is about. You know what I mean? And I just want to say that off the bat. So we may say some things and some people look at it, oh man, y'all just being weak or whatever. But I just want to say it's not that. This question is designed to just let people who may be watching kind of understand some of the things that men go through. Some of the stuff that Walt go through, I may not go through. And some of the stuff that Gaddy going through, a coach may going through, I may not be going through, but someone watching may go through. So they may be able to connect. So that's why I wanted to put this statement up here. So, gentlemen, feel free to go at it. One of the hardest parts of being a man is carrying responsibility that no one else sees. Have at it.
I would say what would illuminate for me is that's what accountability is. You pick the situation, you're carrying that. That's not anybody else's responsibility to pay you any attention for the choices that you made. I personally believe you should just stop crying and carry what you picked up. Ain't nobody else coming to pick it up for you. So why? So this should, to me, a man with self-discipline, self-respect, a level of confidence, and is really focused on what he's doing, doesn't have time to think about who doesn't see what he's carrying. Like, you're not minding your business. You want other people to mind your business. Stop bitching and finish what your mission is. You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever you're doing and you chose to do, that's all on you. Nobody had that vision, that dream, or that impulsive moment. You did. And you can't get mad because nobody sees what you're carrying. And even if you explain it to them, people only have so much capacity to sympathize or empathize with you. I can have sympathy for your situation. I can take into account and inventory how hard it might be. But at the end, it's thoughts and prayers, my boy. You know what I'm saying? It's like that. I can't, like, if you never broken a leg, I've never broken a leg. I can imagine that it hurts. But if I've never had to rehab from a broken limb, then there's only so much that I can offer. in terms of being able to relate to it. So I think that is this whole conversation has been about respect. Respect is centered on personal discipline, self-discipline, and you can't live a fantasy. I think men have a Princess Disney fantasy when they expect other people to see what they're carrying.
Please, if I can follow my homeboy, please, if I could just say this
Everybody wanna
Go ahead, Dr. Easley.
Can I just say, because I'm gonna just keep it quick. Instead of hardest part, I'd rather just say one of the best parts of being a man. And I think, and that goes back, I think, to what Pastor said and what Son of Timothy said in particular when you talked about shucks, hold on, brothers, because y'all said it. Oh, and I want to do this less in a minute. It was like taking on the responsibility. It's like seeing things happening for you and not to you. That's it. So I just wanted to just add that. That's it. Appreciate that. Listening, coach.
So that's where I'm at, right? Because I was itching. I was sitting here and I'm like, I don't know if it's the hardest part. It is the part. That's what makes you a man. Now, I think the part that we're missing here is because, let's be honest, I don't want to assume that no one understands or sees. You do, because you're men. So I can easily come to you and have a conversation with you about what I'm going through and experiencing, and you can understand because you are a man. So this question is not talking about men at all. It's talking about counterparts, women, female. And the distance between us carrying that responsibility that they can't see and us and them carrying their responsibility that we can't see, that's called understanding. So now the only way they get to the point of becoming aware of what that looks like is by us having conversation with them, landing on the table, no judgment. Let me just hear it. And that's my point. Like, the problem is, especially in today's society, everybody else have an opinion about what a man is supposed to be. Right? Listen, I didn't ask you for your opinion. Let me say it like that. I didn't ask you for your opinion about what manhood is. Listen, because here's the deal. You want me to listen to you when you're telling me what womanhood is all about. So if that actual metric exists for you and have for quite some time, then shouldn't it not exist for me as well? So it's not the hardest part of being a man, right? It is the part of being a man that carries the responsibility that no one else sees. And that man now has a responsibility, especially if he's married. He has a responsibility to enlighten her so that she now has an understanding.
And also what I wanted to say real quick is looking at this statement, and it just makes me question or say, why do I need others to see what I'm carrying? You follow what I'm saying? Why do I need anybody to see what I'm carrying? Am I trying to prove a point? Going back to that before, do I need somebody's approval? Do I need somebody to pat me on the back and say, good job? That's not what manhood is all about. Like you said, it's not, I love what you said, Doc. You said it's not the hardest part. It is the part, of being a man. And then, because even in the Bible, the word of God, it tells us in 1 Corinthians, it says to be watchful, stand firm in the faith. And it says, act like men and be strong. It says, act like men and be strong, right? And so that's what I'm saying. So I don't need people to see what I'm doing or watch or even approve what I'm doing. I just need to, like you say, make sure that the word of God is my foundation and I'm acting like a man.
Yeah. See, I'm counting. Go ahead. I'm counting who I got to make sure I unmute and get before, because I already knew Coach is one of them. Now I didn't add Victor to walk on my watch list, because we keep in the same thought process. But I'm loving this portion, because it's something beautiful about when men agree, like, because you can see impact when people listening and men agree. We stand together. That's when impact happens right there. And so I think this is a universal understanding when it comes to men. If it's my responsibility, what the heck you need to see me for? Is you finna come over here and help me pay these bills if I can't pay them? No. So I'm gonna have to figure this out. So what I need, see me. Oh, and then somebody else brought up this fantasy. This is
this whole conversation about the hardest part of being a man. I can't even say that with a straight face. It's ridiculous, man. You want to lead, you want to do this, you want to do this, you want to build a house, you want a girl, what is called being a man? Holy crap. I mean, either you wasn't raised by one and you don't know how to be one, or you can't accept the responsibility of one. But pick. I mean, come on, pick. That is some seriously pussified shit. I hate like this. It's like, how much time do you need to be a man? Like, how much time do you need? You need to go back to school. Do you need a mentor? Do you need a hug? I cannot figure out why is it so. I love being a man. I love where my life is at. I love the responsibility when people come in it, and I love kicking them out. I don't see what's hard about it. You just got to do you. Develop, become the best version of yourself. Do all that good stuff. It's great being a man. We have so much choices. So this hardness, it's called life. You don't like the car you drive? Buy a better one. You don't like the bills you pay? Move. You don't like to live? Go homeless. Like, there's choices to be made. But there's nothing hard in being a man unless you don't have nothing. That's all it is. It's very simple. Life isn't complicated. It's just we as humans who tend to make it so. It really is. You don't have a job? Go find one. But stop making things harder than they are. That's how I look at it. I'm simple like that.
We got internet by Boost Mobile. Where's this dude at, man? I can't even see him. Like, I don't see his outline nowhere.
I don't either.
He came through like a thief in the night, boy. I tell you.
He's just up there. I forgot he was here because he fell off, and then I pulled him back up. So, but yeah, man, this is a doozy. I ain't, it's hard to top anything that you guys say. Not that I'm in any competition. So I would look at it, even if you just take the statement, you can take out hardest part, leave it at whatever part. It is part about being a man. But I look at this. This is the answer to the test. So the answer to the test is it's hard. You got to carry responsibility, and no one don't care, and no one's going to see. So now that you have the answer to the test, what are you going to do about it? You're going to wallow in it? You're going to complain and murmur, or you're going to say, this is what life is as a man, and this is how I have to operate in order to navigate through it. So that's all I had to say about that. But feel free, anybody that need to add anything to this in the next couple of minutes, feel free to do so, because we about to wrap this thing up, because I definitely, again, always want to be respectful of you guys' time.
If I can,
go ahead.
I'm gonna shut up. One of the things I think a lot of men need to understand, especially when we think that we're believers of something, right? Responsibility is divinely appointed. It's actually the attribute of a husband in the definition of love. I always tell people, like, just pay attention. We always talk about who got the easier part, who got the harder part, and this person. Listen, responsibility is divinely appointed. If you need to be seen to have responsibility, if you can't stand up and take responsibility for at least the minimum things in life, right? Of making sure we have shelter, protection, and food, then we're failing the Most High first. Because everything he gave you, everything you have charge over, that responsibility of taking charge over that home is divinely appointed. And sometimes we think everything is surface level. You're failing your first responsibility, which is to the Most High. But I digress.
Look, I'm gonna keep saying it. Go back to parenting, because that's where it all starts. If we're not raising them the way that they should be raised, then they get to the point they're going to look to be liked, and then they're going to end up tying themselves with somebody that liked them, and then they're going to end up doing arm wrestling competitions in their home because they did not understood who they were from day one. That's why I say this is all the identity conversation. Once you understand who you are, I don't have to fight with you. I'm not going to argue with you. In fact, you don't even get in the house unless you understand exactly who I am. That's the key. They don't get in the house until they understand who you are. You built that home. You pay for that home. You're the one that's responsible for that home. You are the one that's going to be charged by the Most High for what's going on in that home. No one gets in the house until they have a clear understanding of that. That way you're not going back and forth arm wrestling with somebody else. It's that simple. But again, if you're not teaching that in your home, that young boy does not know how to go out there and carry himself in that fashion. But it has to be a balance, right? There you go. Have to be a balance. You can't go out there calling yourself ruling with an iron fist. That's where you're imbalanced at that point. So it has to be a level of understanding. That's why I said in that conversation, the difference between what I do and what she do is called understanding. Why do I need her to understand what that looks like? Because some days I may not be feeling my best. And some days, I'm going back to Brother Brown point. Some days I may need her to come and put her hand on my back and say, stand up, act like a man.
Ooh. That last statement. I liked it though.
Mic drop.
That's a when you got a woman that can do that, bro, you know what you got?
But wait, I didn't say that. That's what the scripture said, right? Yeah. Only thing she is doing is being obedient to the scripture and standing behind me and making sure that I hold my part. That's what accountability is.
I like it. Gentlemen, we are 3 minutes over. I'm gonna allow one or two people to kind of wrap this up. If somebody's itching to kind of chew on that last little bit a little bit. If not, we're gonna wrap it up. Nope.
Well, I said this in our.
I just think these. I honestly think these men today aren't men because there's no fathers in them. Period. There's just no fathers in the home.
Yeah, I definitely think that definitely has something to do with it. I think that, you know, what we have to offer as men, especially when we're the ones, when you have the men who are doing what they're supposed to do in the home and that are active participants in the raising of the kids. I think that's a good thing. But unfortunately, there are a lot of men growing up without that and grew up without that. But that's why there are podcasts like this. That's why we have books, you know, like Be a Man and podcasts and different things that you guys are doing on the internet. Coaches YouTube channel. Anybody, if you are not, if you haven't already, you know, go over there and check that out. Again, he kind of mentioned earlier. If not, go back and look at it. He has a lot of different things going on there. A couple of different, at least 4 different shows. Vic has different things going on. Gaddy has different things. Dr. Thomas, a lot of these men over here, books and everything. Antoine, Mr. Brown. Everybody got something going on. So if you just tap in on Facebook or something like that, maybe reach out to these men if you need a coach or something like that. There's a lot of education. There's a lot of knowledge and stuff like that up here. So, yeah, we can definitely get that last point from Walt. Yeah, definitely get that last point from Walt, and then Antoine, and then we're going to wrap it up and we're going to get out of here. So go ahead, Walt, and go ahead, Antoine, and then we're going to roll.
Yeah, so I kind of said this in our personal chat, but want the public to know. As a man, I want to be the king of my household. I want to be a king of my domain. And a lot of times we feel the pressure. This quote, heavy is the head that wears the crown. What does that mean? That's, you got to have a lot under that crown in order to hold it up. You got to have power. You got to have leadership. You got to have responsibility and the ability to handle stress and anxiety. I love being a king, and I love being a man. That's all I got.
Ditto. What you got, Antoine? The other artists.
I just I just feel the lack of discipline and respect all comes from these degenerates that are being raised without parents in the home, fathers in the home. There's no one there to check them, and they're running wild. Kids are so disrespectful today. They got nobody to really check them, and it's sad. And that's why you have what's happening out there. That's why they'll film before they step in. They'll film before they step in and do something and make a change. But it's only because there's no fathers in the home to teach them what we are talking about right here.
Well, gentlemen, I definitely appreciate everything that's been said tonight. I appreciate everybody's contribution, all of those things. Y'all can tune in if you're out there. Go ahead. If you've been watching, hit the like button, share button, comment, all those different things. We're about to wrap up, but we will be back again for part 3 of this 6-part series next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And with that being said, we are out of here. Peace.